Thanks for being here. My name is Anderson Oliveira. I'm glad to be here to present a little bit about what we're going to do, what we are doing in terms of cost management on the cloud and Farfetch. This is a little bit of me. And I decided to do something differently today, which is I will have a co-host with me. His name is Ben. He's from the FinOps Foundation. He will be also helping me out here on the stage as well. So I would like to make this as engaging as possible. If you want to come to the front, that you're welcome. And we're going to have some time for questions. So feel free to make any questions that you want, make clarifications. If we know, we will be more than glad to answer. If we don't, we can get your contact and get back to you shortly. Okay? Before I get started, I just want to invite all of you to visit our beautiful booth there on the lounge. It's for the Farfetch. If you want to know a little bit more about our company, opportunities, and things like that, just go there. It's the beautiful one just on the center of the lounge. Beautiful people, very pleasant people as well there. We'll be waiting for you to provide you more information about our company. So without further ado, this is the topic of the afternoon. I want to talk to you about how Farfetch is managing the cloud cost challenge. It's been a journey, and I'm glad to share with you the beginning of this journey, all right? So before we go ahead, what should you expect from this presentation? What should you expect? We will talk about the journey that we get into the point that we are today, which is the beginning of this journey, but every journey requires a preparation. I will talk to you a little bit about how that worked. And then one of the things that helping us a lot is called FinOps. Very few are talking about FinOps these days. And one of our missions as well is to bring awareness about this new framework that is out there. It's not quite new, actually. It's out there for quite a time, but it's helping companies to be more effective in terms of cost on the cloud. And for that, Ben will come to the stage and provide a little bit more of context about FinOps, what it is, and how to get more information about it. And then at the end, questions. I just reserved this time for this, but why don't you just raise your hand anytime, make questions anytime. Don't wait until the end. Let's make this an environment where we can talk and that we can interact with each other. A little bit about Farfetch. Farfetch is a marketplace, but different from many other marketplaces. This one is dedicated to luxury products. There are more than, we are the #1 global marketplace, more than 1,400 luxury sellers, 3.7 million active customers, and $4.2 billion in GMV. This is a huge company. It's growing year by year. It started here in Portugal. And for the world. The products that we sell there are really top brands. And the differentiation of this marketplace is that it puts together content creators, fashion boutiques, and a global infrastructure in order to deliver those products in the most fashion way to for customers that are willing to pay high prices for very exclusive products. And in order to put all of this together, Farfetch, our ambition is to be the luxury platform for the platform for the luxury market or the luxury industry. So this is what we are today, that we are glad to be working with for. And this is about our platform. Talking about our platform specifically, we are 100% on the cloud. We are cloud native. We have all our infrastructure. Everything is in there. And this is something that is great, but also brings some challenges. Before I go to the challenge, I will just want to play a video so that you can have an idea of how we are structured, how our infrastructure is in place, so that you can have an idea how it works, okay? So let's take a look at it.
Infrastructure engineering is about all systems working in a connected and seamless way. At Farfetch, infrastructure is the thread that makes every interaction of millions of customers to all the services that underpin a global scale operation. With thousands of brands and boutiques, with thousands of developers and microservices deployed on a daily basis. Thousands of servers and petabyte scale storage and multiple data centers connected with redundant SD, WAN, and networks. The colossal scale and speed that running threads our infrastructure requires a unique approach to deliver reliable, stable, and secure services. We call it blueprints. We've taken the best trends of innovation to build a system that offers an interface to define all infrastructure requirements for each service or application in one place. A blueprint that captures all aspects of the services that interact with our infrastructure with a well-defined, source-controlled, and always up-to-date framework. We treat automation like that, but we do it with a holistic approach that allows us to have a single view of our infrastructure and applications. Complex? Yes, but we're dedicated to being the guardians of the matrix, unsettled and ambitious.
When I joined Farfetch, one of the things that caught me is this statement, do what's never been done before. And I can truly say that this is the spirit, the environment within the company. And this initiative around cost management is one of the things that has never been done before in Farfetch, let's say. But not that we're not doing that at all, but we're trying to give a step change on the way that we manage our costs. And that's what inspired us to go to the next level. So what's the problem about cloud? As I said, we are 100% cloud native, and this is great as this is an enabler for creativity, for new things, new services. I remember back in 2008 when I was an engineer. In that time, the cloud was not on the center of everything. And we were developing applications, and then I moved to project management. And we were on the middle of that way of that things that we need to install servers. And then we were doing this project where we need to have finance involved, procurement involved. We need to find a place. Sometimes, depending on where we want to place that, we need to build the building and buy the hacks, buy the machines, install it, cabling, cooling, all of these things. If we wanted to, depending on the project, if we needed to, we did an assessment. And in this assessment, we say, will you need more processing for the new project that you're creating? If the answer is yes, do we already have this capacity available? No. So the project will cost this much because we would need to increase the number of computers, servers, things like that. And it was not so long time ago. We are into 2022. And today we have a company where we have 100% of our loads on the cloud. So if I want to increase capacity, it's just like this. I have it. I have everything that I need. But it's like a paradox. The same time that we have all the resources in an infinite amount at the reach of our fingers, this is exactly what will increase cost at the end of the day. Because As we use, the cloud providers will be charging us as we use capacity. And if we will use more, we will gonna get more. If we use less, hopefully we wanna spend less. But that's not always the case. And this is the situation that we are here today. What is in here is taken from the FinOps Foundation, but it's the problem that every company that is on the cloud is facing. The spend is decentralized, it's variable and scalable. Decentralized on the sense that if I don't need to make a project to require more resources, and if what I'm coding or deploying will use resources on the cloud, at the end of the day, think about that. I am making decisions on behalf of the company in terms of purchases. And this is completely decentralized, done by many people that probably isn't even aware that they're doing that. Variable, because depending on what we need, this is what we're gonna get. And scalable, because if we wanna scale this for some reason, cloud provider most likely will have this capacity available at a cost, obviously. So how we were dealing with this before that? As I said, we are a cloud native company. Hosting costs is a big chunk of the IT cost that we have. So it's not that we were not doing anything. We were really doing some stuff, and very good stuff. For example, we created a homegrown application that helps us to be aware of the cost on the cloud, but not only that, have that cost split by teams, this cost split by service, the same cost from the cloud provider split by type of technology. For example, if a team wants to know how much they are spending in MongoDB or in Cassandra or in Kubernetes, they're gonna have this in this homegrown report. This doesn't come easily out of the box. There's many mappings and, we need to deal with the data, do many mappings, bring data from many other sites in order to have this in a format that the teams can consume. And we were doing this for more than a year, and we were increasing the capacity of these systems. We are not 100% there. There are lots of work that needs to be done, but we have a pretty decent way for the teams and organizations to know how much they're spending on their cloud cost. You see here, todos juntos. Todos juntos is Portuguese, and this means everybody is together. Everybody together. And this is one of the values of our company, that we need to do everything as a team, as just one body. And this culture is really great because this was working in a way that teams were sharing a little bit what they were doing. But on the other hand, all of this was done in isolation. All of them were saving and trying to save costs because they were thinking on the greater good. But all of this was done in silos. Each team, each organization, each cluster were taking their own activities in order to cut cost. And this is what we've been doing, and it was working. We were able to reduce our cost per order, that is the unit economics that we use to measure our performance, by roughly 10% every year. So we were we were successful, but we knew that we could do more, do what's never been done before. Do you remember? So tools and reports are important. They will only be effective associated with the right behavior, fueled by the right mindset, grounded on sound principles. This is something that I say internally to the team, because as we were putting together our team and start working on something for our cloud cost management as a whole, I was not an expert in that moment. Not that I am expert today, I'm starting to get there, but as a product manager, my role was to let me see the environment, let me study, let me see what's going on in here. And it was really quick to me to understand that if you are on the cloud and you want to be cost effective, there is no tool, unfortunately, that will automatically put your costs up and down according to the usage. Oh, but what about Elasticsearch? What about this and that? Okay, they're there, they can help. But what is really, really, really effective is the mindset of the people that works with those resources on the cloud. They need to be aware that they have the power to take actions in order to make their systems, their applications, their services elastic enough in order to reduce cost. It could be easier than like if you have a development environment, turn it off when you go home instead of leaving it on all night long. Simple like that, or other actions that you could do. Maybe the code that you develop is consuming too much memory. You could do something to reduce that, or maybe to make that more effective, more efficient. So, although all of these are technical activities, one thing in common between all of them is this is something that is done by humans, and humans just work with a good mindset and with what I said, the todos juntos culture, everybody together culture. It was really rapid for us to understand that culture was on the center of everything. So with this, we started thinking on an initiative that we called ICON. ICON is a short for Infrastructure Cost Optimized Now. I am sitting inside the infrastructure organization on tech, and we initially thought that on infrastructure. But again, as we were iterating, we saw that this would be much more effective if it was not just focused on the infrastructure team, but if it could go across all technology areas. And but before going there, let me talk about what this means, the ICON means. It would be us working on 3 trenches. 1 in analytics, 2 in culture itself, and 3 in technology. Culture is on the center of everything, as I said, is how people think. Analytics is that if we want people to take action on top of their costs, they need to be aware of how much they're spending. And nothing better than this than putting all of this together on initiatives around analytics. And lastly, technology in the sense of providing tools that will help teams to do this shift to left. By shift left, I mean have the development teams be aware of their costs before deployment as much as they can. If you think on a timeline, and the right side of the timeline is the beginning, this is what we were talking about. Shift to left in the sense that we will know the cost of what we are doing before even deploying. So as I said, this went bigger than infrastructure team. During this period, as we were researching, we get to know as well about the FinOps framework. The FinOps framework, and we get into it, we went deeper. We did many studies. It's an open source organization that everything there related to framework on cost management is there. And once we get in there, we have a very good surprise. First is that what we were doing or what we were planning to do was 100% aligned with what the framework was saying. And second, when we were trying to think what we're going to be doing on the future, FinOps already had all the things that we would take years to figure it out alone by ourselves, and it was already there. So with all of that together, we maintain the same initiative. It's still called ICON, but it's not infrastructure. It will be FinOps on FTech way. FTech is Farfetch technology. So what you're seeing here is what exactly we presented internally. The icon product is this initiative that aims to go deeper in FinOps framework inside Farfetch. It makes a lot of sense because we are on the cloud, 100% on the cloud, and to manage cloud on cost on cloud requires a new paradigm, requires a new mindset. Companies need to work differently than traditionally it works when it's very capex based oriented kind of thing with equipment and all of this. Everything is abstracted on the cloud, and we need to think differently, and FinOps will help us with that. So our objective is to accelerate profitability by optimizing Farfetch cloud hosting costs through FinOps framework and cultural practices. In a short, this is what we're going to be doing. And as I said, I just repeated this slide. The only difference between this one and the other one is that now we have the Farfetch way and on implementing FinOps. But the things that we were thinking to do is still there, but now enhanced by a broader perspective with something. And another interesting thing was that while participating on the FinOps meetings and all these things and hearing the conversations and people talking about it, it was so, do you know that feeling that when you're going through challenges and then you find a group of people that is facing exactly the same challenge as you? This is how I felt when I get there. The same challenges that we have, other companies have, and all of them are willing to share this knowledge for the greater good of cost management discipline. This is a busy slide. I'm not going to stay there for too long, but the idea here is to show you the roadmap that we put together according to the FinOps capabilities. This is not that we are not doing this, for example, anomaly detection or forecasting. This is when we think or when we want to be on a certain level of maturity called crawl, run, or even a walk and run stage. It said crawl there, but it's, what I meant is right on the middle to the most mature. So how we're dealing with this? Just last week, April 13, we did a big event where we announced to all FTech that we would be officially adopting FinOps. And in that event, we deliver a series of products, a couple of them things that were already existed, other things that were done by other teams, things that we were doing ourselves. So I just want to run through it really quickly just to give you an idea of how we kick off this initiative internally. 2 products on the analytics vertical, that is hosting cost and anomaly detection. Hosting cost is a series of reports based on BigQuery and Looker as the visualization tool, where the BigQuery is able to crunch a massive amount of data that flows into our system every day, crunch it, and then displays this in a very user-friendly and flexible user interface that is Looker. We are making these reports available and building it even more as we get our data more, as we listen to the customers, the teams, what they need, what makes sense to them, and then we retrofit into the product so that we can have even better reports. Anomaly detection using Data Genie, that is a system that allows us to detect anomalies. So let's say we're used to a certain amount of cost, a cost amount, and suddenly it go up or down. Probably some things went wrong, and this is something that help us with our automation and artificial intelligence. Provide us some the normally story-like insight and power to identify hidden patterns as it do combinations of data trying to figure out what could be the cause of that specific anomaly. And it's recognized on the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So the way it works is that once the anomaly is detected, it sends a Slack message to a specific Slack channel, and that will lead us to the graph where we can see the anomaly. In this one specifically, we were having a cost going through this trend, and then suddenly we have a drop. So something happened. The team will be advised about that through the Slack, and they can go there and check it out. And what is interesting is that this is the number that we get, and this curve here is drawn by the system based on previous results. And it tries to predict that on this day, something that the system considers as normal or something that could be in this band, and as it goes up or down from that band, it will then flash this anomaly message. So this is what we're doing in Data Genie. It's working pretty well. The second one on technology, our infrastructure team implemented something really cool about that's called infracost. That is when they are deploying a machine through the pipeline infrastructure as a service, there is a step on the pipeline that tells you, okay, for that what you're deploying, this is how much it will cost according to Microsoft retail price. In this case here, it's in this environment, in this data center, etc. And it's small here, but it has the amount here saying, okay, what you're putting here will cost this much per day, okay? And it's in here. So the person that is deploying have a good idea, and it's transformative, everyone. When we put the bill in front of the people, even if they don't pay for it, if they know it, they will be, oh, okay, what I'm doing will cost 86 euros. Okay, and they start thinking if this is something that they really need or not. So I really like this feature. Next, on culture, that is the other pillar. We know that it's important that although we are todos juntos, we want everybody to be todos juntos, or everybody together on the same mindset, on the same direction. So we created 2 trainings. One is the basics of FinOps and the FinOps principles, things that is related to the material that is already available on the FinOps website, but with the Farfetch flavor, in a way that Farfetchers, people that works there with us, can relate to their day-to-day. Those are compute-based training that they can do at any time that they want, very fast, 10 minutes each. And they have a way to get in touch with us through a dedicated Slack channel where they can share their learnings, their questions about FinOps, what they're learning, principles, and everything. As well, we want to give people visibility of the good things that is being done by teams. Again, this is something that teams need to be aware and accountable. So means for people to let us know what are the good things that they're doing, and we are creating ways to make this available for everyone so they can learn with each other. What we call this is the icon of the month. It's a program that we recognize people that has done good things, amazing things around cost management. And last but not least, we also changed a little bit about how we are structured, because you will see that one of the principles is that a centralized team drives FinOps on the organization. And then we created an organization called FinOps. The FinOps team inside Farfetch makes this connection with the cloud providers, the people and communication team, as they do an excellent job on communicating ideas and everything inside the company. We want to have them onboarded to help us to spread out the message. Engineering teams, infrastructure teams, and last but not least, very importantly, trying to be more together with the FinOps Foundation so that we can learn even more and eventually share what we're learning through the way. So what's next? For 2022 on culture, we plan to create more blogs, articles. We have created a hub, a landing page where we are putting there our some articles. A few of them I have written myself. Other people are collaborating as well. Videos about this, what we are doing, and more framework training. As I said, we have created the one about principles and about the basics. So we want to go further on the framework, on personas, maturity level. Ben will talk a little bit more about that, what they mean. On analytics, we want to evolve. We did some analysis on applications and services already on the market. We did an assessment on many of them, and we decided to continue investing on our tool. This is what we're going to be doing on the rest of the year. And we want this tool to be multi-cloud. Today we're working with the 3 main cloud providers. This report is able to gather data from 2 of them, and we want this report to be transparent. If you want to know how much computing you're using regardless of the cloud provider, this is the place to go so people can get this information. That's what we're going to be aiming until the end of the year. And on technology, we want to leverage infra costs even more and research other technologies similar to that in order to empower infrastructure teams and engineering teams to be more aware of their cost before deploying. Okay, so we have some applications, some services that we are studying as well. We're doing some proof of concepts. And if they are approved and they prove that they work, they're probably gonna get into our portfolio as well. All right. So this is the end of my part. What I tried to show here was our journey until we get to the point where we are, okay, now we are 100% FinOps. This is what we're gonna do. We are already doing this, but we will enhance now with a guideline to go through this journey. It's not a sprint, it's a journey, a long time transformation within the company. But I would like as well to give to the audience a good idea of what FinOps is. And better than myself doing this, I invited Ben to be here with me. He is the director of FinOps Foundation for Europe. He will be here in order to talk a little bit what FinOps is in terms of framework and everything. So, Ben, good to have you here.
Good to be here, man. Well, thank you very much. Everybody hear me all right? Oh, it's on. Excellent. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. I've come here from Scotland. I arrived about 2 hours ago, so I'm doing quite well. I've only had 2 coffees today. So, which button is go? That button is go. Good. So, the FinOps Foundation. We are a non-profit organization, as Anderson said. And we have a very simple message, very simple mission, which is to advance every individual who manages the value of cloud, regardless of who you are, with enriching connections professional advancement, and building stronger capabilities wherever you happen to be. Now that wherever you happen to be means if you're an engineer, or if you're in procurement, or if you're in finance, or an executive, or a project manager, doesn't matter. Everybody's role has changed when cloud has been introduced to the business model, right? And as a result of that, we exist to support that evolution and to support that growth. So that's effectively what we do. And we do this through our community, our connections. We do this through training and support in finding roles. And we do this in supporting the enhanced sort of best practices and standards and building those capabilities stronger as we mature the discipline itself. So this is an insanely busy slide, but it's also pretty much everything from a 2-day course that I teach on one screen. So I'm not going to spend 2 days going through this because we don't have sleeping bags or breakfast for tomorrow morning in here. But what I want to do is call out a few really important points on here. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit of this because this is just saved me the bother of changing slides, basically. First of all, the principles on the left-hand side. These are our 6 guiding principles. They're our North Star. So Anderson spoke a little bit about the principles of the foundation, principles of FinOps. And yeah, this is effectively what we try to model. And you'll recognize quite a lot of these from the conversation that Anderson just had. You'll spot quite I love the todos juntos. I can't pronounce that very well. I'm not Portuguese, I'm Bristolian, sorry. Todos juntos? How did I do? Brilliant. I'll work on it, thank you. Yeah, so collaboration, right? It is so important to understand. And it's not just about collaboration between engineering teams. It's about understanding the problems and challenges that our friends in finance might be having. I'm an ex-data center engineer, so I always refer to finance as them, but shouldn't do that. But yeah, so we have to understand each other's challenges, and we have to understand what we're trying to achieve collectively as a business, right? Collaboration is key. Ownership. Everybody takes ownership for their cloud usage. What does ownership mean in this context? What does it mean if you own your infrastructure? Well, let's think about that. If I own infrastructure, I should be responsible for it. I should be responsible for it not falling apart and burning on, becoming a dumpster fire. I should be responsible for it not being the next vector for somebody to start mining Bitcoin. And I should be responsible for making sure that it doesn't single-handedly bankrupt my employer so that I get to keep getting paid at the end of each month. So if I own the infrastructure, I'm responsible for its well-being and its effectiveness and its efficiency. But I can't be fully responsible for that if I'm not able to improve it. If in order to improve the infrastructure that I own, I have to get assent from on high, yes, you can resize your instance. Do I own it, really? So ownership is really important to support. A centralized team drives FinOps, just like at Farfetch and Anderson. It is completely pointless to tell 50 teams to solve the same problem. Somebody solves the problem, that solution, that idea, that sort of genius should be shared. That sort of thing should be shared broadly. Some things need to be done centrally because context matters, because you need to ensure that we have a collective unified direction of where we're working within our FinOps practice. I kind of don't like the word reports on this because a report suggests that it's something that you can print out, a great big ream of paper, and drop it on somebody's desk. And the moment that you make any data static in a report with cloud, where you have millisecond-based billing in some cases, usually second-based billing, as soon as you static that data, it's out of date. It's no longer relevant. So reports kind of don't like that word, and I think we're working on and rewording these things anyway. Data. Data should be accessible and timely. There is zero value in telling somebody what March's cloud spend was at the beginning of May. I'm not kidding. I dealt with that. right? Like, seriously, it's no logic, okay? I want to know what happened by Friday. I want to know what happened on Wednesday, right? It is really important that data is timely and accessible. Has anybody seen a cloud bill? Not an invoice, a cloud bill. Has anybody looked at the contents of an AWS CUR, cost and usage report? I'll give you a small insight. I worked with one customer a couple of years, about 18 months ago, where they just started dipping a toe into the pool of cloud. That doesn't make any sense. And they'd got their first itemized bill because they thought that was what you would do. We need lots of data. We know what's going on. Let's get an itemized bill. 135 pages of A4. They'd spent $400. 135 pages of A4. That is not accessible data, right? So using things like BigQuery and Looker is absolutely critical. I mean, there's lots of other tools, but BigQuery and Looker, very good combination, right? Not Data Studio though, Looker, yeah. Data Studio can't cope. Loads of tools out there. AWS are producing some amazing things right now with QuickSight and Athena. Microsoft Azure is doing some great things too. There's some third-party tooling that will charge you money for this as well. But you have to make sure your data is accessible so that an engineer can go look at a graph and go, right, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, what I did last week, actually, I deployed twice as much as I should have done. Whoops, I'll go fix that before my boss notices. Decisions should be driven by the business value of cloud and by data. We shouldn't make any decisions based upon gut feel. We should have the information to our fingertips that we get from the previous principle. And finally, when we've got that live data, we've got that collaboration, we've got that ownership, and we've got this mantra of making decisions based upon the business value that we see, we can take advantage of this unpredictability. It's only unpredictable if you don't know what you're doing. If I drive with a blindfold on, the outcome is unpredictable. Actually, it's fairly predictable. I'm going to crash. But when I'm going to crash and what I'm going to hit is very difficult to determine, right? If you know exactly what you're doing and you have good data, you have a good feedback loop, and you're clear picture of what's happening, you can actually take some serious advantage. I mean, Anderson mentioned about turning dev off when you go home. If you go from a 24/7 dev stack online to a 12/5 dev stack online, that is a 64% reduction in spending on dev just for turning the lights off when you go home, basically. 64% spending. And in a lot of cases, dev spending outstrips prod in cloud. It shouldn't, but it does, because developers build things. Yeah, so that's effectively the principle, the 6 principles of cloud. If you kind of think about how those could be embedded, they shouldn't feel alien. They shouldn't feel like there should be a big stretch to reach these points. Effectively, we have to understand one another better, right? When we can embody those principles, I'm going to make shadow puppets now, we can start to look at the life cycle of FinOps, which is this phases cycle here, right? DevOps has a nice sort of infinity life cycle, nice simple circle, is much, much simpler. Whoops, sorry about that, sneak preview. We begin with data, with inform, right? I'm breaking the stage, it's going well. Begin with data, with inform. We have to operate from a standpoint of understanding what we're looking at. I keep pressing that. We have to operate from data. We have to analyze what we see and find the opportunities to optimize. Because latest IDG report said that about 35% of all global cloud spend is waste. Waste being defined as money being spent on resources that effectively sit there doing nothing. When you pair that up with the fact that by the end of this year we're expected to see a global cloud spend of $492 billion, a third of that is a large amount of money, right? So finding the opportunities to improve that and make that better, that's what we do at Optimize. We use the data, we find the optimizations, but then we're not done yet. Because We got there somehow. We got to this place where we're spending money we didn't need to spend. So we need to change what we do, right? I'll quote Henry Ford. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. So if you keep doing the things that created the waste, you're just going to get more waste. And every time you go around the optimizer and you look at the data, you'll find more of it. So we need to understand how we change what we do and how we approach our cloud solution to ensure that we optimize before we need to clean up, right? And the middle piece here kind of just talks about what I already said, which is that everybody's involved, right? Everybody has their own piece of the picture that they can contribute to make sure that we have a good, clear understanding, right? If you go to a cloud optimization tool, it might say, you can save $400,000 on right-sizing everything. And you could just take that number to finance and say, hey, finance, look, I found 400 grand. But the engineers might say, well, hang on a minute, no. No, you can't do that because actually there's reasons for this resources here, and actually we built this and it's already been reviewed, and we need to leave it like this, and it would cost us 800 grand to fix that. So we can't do that. So context is important. We have to have these conversations. These teams need to collaborate to make sure that we get the right information. So that's why the principles are there, why the personas are there. Now this is almost all of the FinOps framework. Almost all of it. These 6 domains down here. Let's look at these here. So we've got understanding cloud usage and cost. That fits quite nicely into Inform. I'm going to break this stage, I swear. I'm going to step away from this. Understanding cloud usage and cost. Okay? We have to understand what's going on with our spending. Performance tracking and benchmarking. If we don't have data, we don't have an understanding, we can't benchmark. We don't benchmark, we don't know if we've made any improvement. So we have to track how things are going so we identify good patterns of behavior. Real-time decision making. Again, that comes back to the data being accessible and timely. We have to make decisions and be able to make decisions as quick as possible, right? A company that I will not name that was using a product that I will name, Akamai, because why not? Made a small mistake. They were using a set-top box solution that was displaying a screensaver when people weren't watching a streaming TV content. This screensaver was an advert for another TV show that you might want to watch. And the image was supposed to sit within cache on the set-top devices. And there was a cycle of 3 or 4, and they would rotate every 8 seconds. What happens if you make the image too big to fit in cache? Every time, every 8 seconds, that you want the next image to be displayed, it's not in cache. So it gets fetched from Akamai again. So rather than the image going out once to all of these set-top boxes in a single push, it was going out every 8 seconds to 750,000 set-top boxes. Our Akamai spending at that point was painful, right? Being able to make a decision quickly and say, right, well, okay, that's a thing we've now identified as an anomaly. We'll fix that now. Saved us a lot more embarrassment, right? Cloud usage optimization. Again, I've talked about that. It's about making sure that we have responsible sizes, responsible usage of our product. And also, something I actually was at the AWS Summit in London yesterday, where the keynote speech in the morning was that they announced that there was over 3,000 new products and upgraded products released on the AWS platform last year, right? Last year alone. So if you had your optimized environment at the beginning of 2021, you probably may not be optimized still because something has come out that means that actually you could save 20% by moving to something that's just been brought out. So being able to make that usage optimization, it is a continual muscle that keeps being worked. And finally, organizational alignment. Everybody has to be on the same page. That comes right back to the teams need to collaborate. But it's not just teams, leadership too. Everybody has to be on the same page. We have to be aligned with what the business wants and ensure that the decisions we're making are in line with the business values. So each of these 6 domains, and I'm not going to go into all 18 of these capabilities, you'll be glad to know. Each of these 6 domains there's a whole bunch of different capabilities. You might recognize some of these from the slide that Anderson put up a minute ago, where he said we want to be really good at these things by 2024, 2025, right? Some of these things are foundational, absolutely critical. Cost allocation, who spent it? What did it get spent on? Do we know? We should. We probably don't in all cases, right? But cost allocation is actually pretty hard with a cloud bill to figure out exactly what was spent on what and why. But that's a key piece, right? That goes hand in hand with data analysis and showback. You could show somebody their bill. Because if I show, my friend Tom Anderson's bill, he'll tell me, why do I care about this? This is not mine. So we make sure that we show people the things that they own. We talked about ownership, right? Forecasting. Forecasting cloud, are you serious? That's tough, okay? Genuinely true fact, about 6 months ago, when I was working at a consultancy company away from the foundation, I was asked by an American company to provide a cloud forecast for 46 years. Yes, 46. I gave them a forecast and figured that, I didn't give them a forecast, one of our consultants did because I refused. But I figured that if we got it wrong, I'll be 88 by the time the last year is incorrect, so I'm not particularly bothered about that. But 46-year forecast they were asking for. It's more realistic to ask for 5 years. But it isn't, because how on earth do you know what the cloud vendors are going to release next year, the year after? How can you forecast for products that don't exist yet? So forecasting is something we need to rethink, along with our spending cycles. We used to spend quarterly. I used to be a principal data center engineer for Oracle, and I used to spend silly money every year doing tech refresh of our infrastructure. But my purchase cycle was every 3 months. Once every 3 months, I spent a load of money. In cloud, you're doing it every half an hour, every 10 minutes, every 30 seconds. So your forecasting window has to shorten. That's a challenging thing to get through. If you have a look through this, you'll notice that the disciplines you need in order to be good at all of this stuff are very, 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 very different. You need some seriously clever people, way smarter than me, to do automation and workload. Never look at my code. I promise it's a bad idea. Workload management and automation. Yeah? Very, very different skill to budget management, which is a very different skill to policy and governance. Education, right? ITAM, because ITAM's still a thing. So there's a lot to do. A good FinOps team, like Anderson's building, should not just be full of engineers. It should be full of loads of different types of people who all learn from one another, collaborate, share their understanding, and build something which is a complete picture. So this is kind of cool, actually. Back in 2019, apparently nobody had a FinOps job. I did. So it should be like, I don't know, a bit above 0. But back in 2019, really on LinkedIn, there was nothing going on. Now, we've just hit about 9 and a bit thousand roles. If you did a search on like FinOps roles open and people doing the job, nearly 10,000 people now. It's quite a significant spike. And this is within our FinOps Foundation Slack channel. We have a jobs chat. And companies who are looking for people who do FinOps will post an advert in there. And I kid you not, it's one of the busiest channels we have, right? People will also post there saying, hi, I want to do a FinOps job. And just get inundated, right? This is how many posts we see in our Slack month by month. So back in January last year, it was about 20 through the month. We're now seeing 2 to 3, 4, 5 a day. In fact, actually, that goes 2021, 2022, the bar graph is above 100. So how do you do this FinOps stuff? Do you want to do more and more of the FinOps things? So, Anderson mentioned that Farfetch is doing some sort of bespoke training stuff. We within the foundation are actually funded largely by our training programs that we provide for people, and we deliver those on demand. So you can go to a web page and watch a video, do the course online, and then sit the exam and get a funky yellow sticker for your. We don't actually have stickers for these yet. We should, but you get a virtual digital sticker. Print your own. You get a certification that's valid for 2 years. That's a 2-day course with a 1-hour exam at the end. I teach it. Other people teach it too, just in case you want to try and avoid me, that's fine. The practitioner. But if you want to be really hardcore and you want to do, you want to really, really get into the weeds of all the stuff I showed you on that framework page with all the capabilities, we've just released at the beginning of March this year the professional certified training course, which I was involved in building. So you get my voice in some of the videos, so you can't escape me. That course feels like a degree module. It's 2 4-hour-long interactive classes. It's a 2-hour exam. There are 3 essays. You have to teach a class as part of your qualification. You have to produce some community knowledge, a white paper or something like that, as part of your qualification. I'm one of 3 people in Europe that hold that qualification at the moment. I made the course, so it's kind of not fair. But trust me, it's interesting. And it isn't just for engineers, it's for anybody who's interested in doing this and leading this and creating this as a profession. So that is, and also the professional course is being taught in person, the practitioner course rather, is being taught in person in Austin, Texas, in June, I'm about to say next month, but in June, at FinOps X, which is our first global conference that we've ever had. So, obrigados. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah,
Obrigados?
just one more click.
Questions?
Yeah, while we are waiting for questions, I will leave this here on the screen so that you can, you're more than welcome to come to our booth. But we are 1 minute past the hour. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 questions, or if not, we will be there on the lounge. We will be more than glad to talk to you. Any burning question, comment from anyone? All right. If not, thanks, Ben, for coming here.
Thank you,
Really
sir.
appreciate that. Thanks, everyone, for attending. We'll be there on the lounge if you want to talk a little bit more. All right? Thank you.